Le verbe faire. En français, le verbe faire, c'est-à-dire to do, to make or to bake. C'est un verbe très irrégulier et il faut mémoriser les conjugaisons. Conjuguez avec moi. Je fais, tu fais, il fait, nous faisons, vous faites, elles font. Très bien. Attention à la prononciation ici. C'est nous faisons. Et ici, c'est vous faites. C'est très irrégulier. Avec le verbe faire, vous trouvez beaucoup d'expressions qui utilisent le verbe faire. Vous trouvez ces expressions à la page 154 dans le livre. Pour les expressions avec faire, nous allons penser à un train. Pourquoi? Parce que vous avez le verbe faire. Faire, the verb, is like the engine of the train. It's the motor that drives the train. The preposition, and these vary, is like the hook that hooks on the rest of the expression, or the cargo, if this were a train. Whatever comes next is the cargo of the train, what it's carrying. Sometimes you have an expression with a lot of cargo, several words. Sometimes it's just something small, like in this expression. Voici un autre exemple avec faire et une autre expression. Remarquez la différence entre faire du sport et faire de la danse. This just goes to show that sometimes you might have du, sometimes de la, and sometimes something else entirely. But in order for the train to carry its cargo, it must have the hook of that preposition. Let's take a look at all of our different expressions, all of our different trains. Notice that the hooks are different almost each time. Répétez avec moi. Faire de l'aérobic, faire attention à, faire du camping, faire du cheval, faire la connaissance de, faire la cuisine, faire de la gym, faire du jogging, faire de la planche à voile, faire une promenade, faire une randonnée, faire du ski, faire du sport, faire un tour, faire du vélo. So notice that almost all of these have some sort of hook, even though sometimes it's du, sometimes it's de la, sometimes it's de l'apostrophe, and sometimes it might just be an indefinite article like une. Is there one that doesn't use any hook at all? Faire attention. So when you are learning these expressions, learn what they mean, how to spell them, and also what hook hooks the expression on to the verb faire. It's very important. As a quick review, anytime we use the preposition de, we might have to make the following contractions. When de comes up before a le, it makes the contraction du. When de comes up against les, it becomes de. There's no change if de comes before la or l'apostrophe. But for these contractions, you'll see these with the verb faire and other times as well, so it's important to have these in your notes. Dans le livre, à la page 155, vous trouverez aussi ces règles. Ici, make sure to learn the correct article with each faire expression that calls for one, as we just talked about with the hook. For faire expressions requiring a partitive or indefinite article, the article is replaced with de when the expression is negated. What does that mean? Well, partitive articles are du, de la, or for our purposes here, we'll say de as well, or de l'apostrophe. Indefinite articles are un and une. So anytime you have one of these hooks, after a negative, we have to change them to just de or de apostrophe. Which brings me to one of my favorite class rules. After pas, always de. The second rule that you might want to take note of is with the expression faire la connaissance de. Ajoutez un de avant le nom d'une personne. Par exemple, je vais faire la connaissance de Martin. Je vais faire la connaissance des joueurs. And if you're confused about de and des, go back to the previous section where I talked about de plus another article, and you'll see why it's day in that case. Maintenant, essayez les questions ici à la page 155 dans le livre. Merci!